Preview season rolls on here on Armchair Analysis, and today it is all about the Stanford Cardinal. How are they going to progress this year under a little bit of a new regime? Andrew Luck kind of leading the operation, but Frank Reich, the new head coach. We're going to talk about all that and more here on today's episode. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day so far. What is today? June 5th, Thursday, June 5th to be exact, here in 2025. Again, hopefully you guys are having a great day so far, a good week so far. Let's go ahead and get into today's video. And really, this is all about Stanford and what they were last year, what they will be next going into this season, and what we can expect from this team that I think has a lot of question marks surrounding it. The biggest reason is kind of what I led with. Troy Taylor was fired earlier this spring, and what was a surprise move that really nobody saw coming. And truth be told, who could have expected it? Troy Taylor was only there for 2 seasons, was 3-9, 2-6 in conference play last year. A team that was improved upon the first year, but really was still trying to find their way into a new identity and really a new era of Stanford football, where we've seen Stanford be so known for physicality and ball control and just being an overall just a scary team to face from a physical perspective. We move on from that with Troy Taylor, expecting this to be more of a pass first, not even a pass first, but just a more high flying, fast paced offense. And we never really got to see it play out. Ashton Daniels, of course, last year was good. Don't misunderstand what we're saying here, but the team as a whole was just lacking. And so Andrew Luck was brought in to kind of oversee the program, bring Stanford back to former glories, of course, when he was there. And he tabs his former head coach, Frank Reich, to come down to the college ranks and take over the program. He'll be helped out by offensive coordinator Nate Byam and defensive coordinator Bobby April, Andy Thompson. Those guys will share the duties on the defensive side. But what is there to expect? This is a team that last year was 3-9, 2-6 in ACC play. A team that scored on average 22.8 points per game, which was good for 106th in the country. They allowed 33.7, which was good for 116. And the turnover margin per game was negative 0.5, good for 103 in the country. This is a team that has a lot to work on and a lot to do to find themselves back where they feel like they should be as a program. This Stanford team, if led correctly and given past successes, should be competitive in the ACC. Now, travel is going to be one thing, and the overall scheduling dynamics are going to be a thing year in and year out, because any team traveling across the country to play a football game is certainly going to be faced with a few challenges. We'll talk similarly about Cal. We'll talk about SMU the same way. We'll talk about Oregon, UCLA, USC, Washington, all the teams that travel all the way across the country to play their games. But this Stanford team, it doesn't just start with schedule in 2025. It starts with how are they going to progress forward? What are they going to do to build themselves as a future contender in college football? And even less specifically, or even more specifically, really in the ACC first and then into the landscape of college football. Looking at this team in 2025, there's really a lot of question marks surrounding what they want to be and what they will be. The thing that we sit here right now and say is that I expect Elijah Brown to be the starting quarterback, the redshirt freshman. We also got Bear Bachmeier, Miles Jackson. I think it's going to be a QB battle, but I expect that Elijah Brown, the more highly touted quarterback coming out of high school, will be the one to take charge and lead the offense. At running back, you got Micah Ford, Chris Davis Jr., Cole Tabb. I expect Ford and Davis to be the two guys to get the majority of the carries here. I have some decent expectations for Micah Ford, especially if this team kind of goes back to a run-first pro-style offense. But it's tough to say. We'll see what that looks like. At wide receiver, Tiger Bachmeier returns, but other than that, it's really a relatively new group. CJ Williams was a former really solid recruit out of high school, went to USC, things didn't work out. He transferred to Wisconsin, things didn't work out again. He finds himself at Stanford in a place where really success won't matter, but he will get playing time. David Pantelis is another guy that transfers in. I think there's a lot of question marks with the wide receiver room. How are they going to work together? Who will be the next guy to step up, similar to Ayumanor from last year? That'll be extremely interesting to me. You got Sam Roush and Brennan Doyle going to be 2 tight ends. I think those guys are going to be really big parts. Brennan Doyle comes over from Memphis. And I think both of these guys are going to be a big deal in the passing game, helping be that check down option for Elijah Brown. They're also going to be really beneficial to the run game as well. The offensive line is experienced, but I don't know that there's anybody that sticks out to me on this offensive line. And I think overall, as a whole, this team is really young in all the wrong positions to be more competitive this year than they were last year. I think there's going to be a lot of growing pains on the offensive side. Defensively, again, led by coordinators Bobby April and Andy Thompson. There's a lot of juniors. There is a lot of experience defensively for this team. Very few transfers. They only bring in 2 total transfers as I look at it right now on the defense. Jordan Washington and Zach Johnson. Beyond that, Scotty Edwards returns. He was the leading tackler last year, averaged over or put up over 80 tackles last year. Colin Wright was a leader in interceptions last year. The biggest thing, you lose David Bailey. He transfers out, goes to Texas Tech. How do you replace the production that David Bailey puts on the field for you if you're Stanford? In the answer to that question, I don't rightly know. If I'm looking at this team and looking at the roster, what they are going to be or what I truly expect them to be. But as long as we're talking about expectations, let's go ahead and go through what I wrote down as I look through this team. I think this program is trying to find themselves again following the David Shaw era. Andrew Luck wants to bring back the Stanford of his playing days, which is tough, disciplined football. We're a few years off. And I think that's fair to say. I don't have any negativity really to hold towards this program. I think they're really solid. I think they have a solid history behind them. And I think they can put together a season where they may surprise us. Now, they sit right now with an over-under win total of 3.5. They come into the season at plus 30,000 to win the conference and plus 100,000 to win the national championship. That plus 30,000 is dead last in the ACC. So, what successes will we see from the Cardinal? I can't say that I honestly know the answer. But let's go ahead and pull up the schedule here and discuss what Stanford will be. First off, they play week 0. They go on the road to Hawaii. Not going to be a tough game by any means, but it is going to be a game to really find out who this team is and what they're going to look like. I don't know how much weight we carry with it, but it is a game that I think eyes should be on in week 0 to see what they will be. You go to BYU, and I really think that's going to be a tough game to go and try to win. Whether Jake Retzloff ends up being there in the starter or not, given the off-the-field situation up there in Provo. As for Boston College, Virginia, those are 2 teams that I think are going to be improved this year. I don't know how much, but I don't think they're going to be teams that they're going to be tough to beat. San Jose State, I have mixed feelings. I think that they're going to be solid. I really like Kendi Amalolo, and I think that him being there is going to make this team a tough team to beat. But I think it'll be a game that you can handle. On the road against SMU, first game of October. Florida State at Miami, Pitt, North Carolina. I think that 5-game stretch is going to be tough. I don't know how much I love North Carolina, but I got to trust the coaching that I think Bill Belichick can do. As for the rest of that group of 5 games, I think Florida State's going to be at least tremendously improved. If you didn't see that video already, go ahead and check it out. But beyond that, then you go Cal, which Cal is going to be down this year. They are replacing a lot, and Devin Brown's going to be the new quarterback. I want to have faith in him. I want to trust him. We'll see what I think about the overall result of this game. And then you got Notre Dame at the end of the season, which I think we can all but circle as a loss unless something catastrophic happens to Notre Dame. Let's go ahead and go through the schedule, and I will kick it off with a win at Hawaii. I think it'll be a good way to get the season started, and for, again, Frank Reich and this entire program to see where they are, where they stand, and how they're going to be this year. They'll lose to BYU. I just think that this BYU team is too good one way or the other. Really good on line of scrimmage, which is a place I expect Stanford to struggle. Boston College and Virginia, I'm going to give 2 losses. I'm not overly confident that Stanford's going to be competitive with a lot of the ACC this year. There's going to be a couple teams that are just down. Neither of these two fit that bill. They'll get a win at home against San Jose State. I think that ultimately they will just be better than San Jose State, but it's going to be a close game and one that I think we will probably have our eyes on at some point. I presume it'll be what we will now call ACC after dark. You get SMU on the road. I'm going to give the Cardinal a loss there. If you watch the other Florida State video, you know I already have a loss for the Cardinal here. They go on the road to Miami, and I think, again, just too good of a team, especially at the line of scrimmage. I think that's where the games are going to go from competitive to just flat out one team's better. Miami is certainly going to be better in that regard. Pitt, I'm going to give them the win there. And then at UNC, if this game was in Palo Alto, I might, especially at this point in the season, have a differing tone because we don't really know. Look, I can sit here and say that I trust Bill Belichick as a head coach. It would be stupid to not say that. But what would also be stupid is to sit back and act like UNC is just going to be all of a sudden this championship contending, whether that's ACC championship or even playoff contending team, when we don't even know. There's so much drama behind the scenes at UNC that it makes it really difficult to know whether or not I want to sit here and say that North Carolina is going to be 8-5, or if I want to sit back and do the same thing I did with Coach Prime year 1 and say 4-8. I don't know. And so, as I stand right now, I do not love what North Carolina brings to the table, and I don't love the off-the-field stuff. I think this game being in Chapel Hill gives them the advantage. They'll take the win. Especially with all the travel. You look at this, they go Virginia, back home. Really, you can start it with Hawaii. They go Hawaii, Provo, home. Charlottesville, Virginia, back home in Palo Alto. Dallas, Texas, Palo Alto. Miami, Florida, Palo Alto. Chapel Hill, and then you get 2 games at home to close that out. And I think that this Cal-Stanford game is going to be intriguing. It's going to, I don't know if it's going to determine the bottom of the conference, but I don't love what I see from Cal already. I like a little bit more of Stanford. I think by this time they're going to start to figure out who they are and what they want to be. I'm going to give Stanford the win at home in this one. Then they'll play Notre Dame at home. I think they're going to lose this game. But to close out the season, 3-9, 1-7 in conference. Yes, it is a drastic downturn from 2024. Well, not really. I mean, you went 3-9, 2-6. This time you go 1-7 in conference play. I think that it is just the nature of where you are right now and how you're going to play the NIL game, which they clearly have an intention to do so. And then how are you going to build this roster and become a contender once again? We are not that far removed from Stanford being a perennial Rose Bowl contender at the very minimum. And even back in 2011, a team that could have played for a national championship. It's not impossible for them to return, but it is going to be super, super difficult, I think, given today's landscape of college football, if they don't do things the right way. I think it'll start with continuity. I made mention of the fact that, like, the coaching carousel as a whole, and when you don't have a coach that sticks around for a long time, now this is going to be their third coach in 4 years. And in saying that, how do you build a continuous staff? Frank Reich is only listed right now as an interim head coach, which means that there's a possibility that he does not return to this program in 2026, which means that we could be talking about 4 head coaches in 5 seasons. That's problematic, and it bears noting, and it bears some penalty towards the Stanford program in terms of what they're going to become. I'm not going to sit here and act like they are dead to rights in any regard. I don't think that's the case. I think they are going to figure it out, but it's something that you need to start finding now. The identity crisis of this program has to be fixed sooner rather than later. So with that said, I don't have a lot anymore to really add. They didn't really do a lot in this offseason. It was a quiet offseason, which means there's less to talk about. But tomorrow, we come back, Big 12, Arizona. Really excited to get talking about this program and what Brent Brennan's got to do to bring them back. So I thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed the video and gotten this far, please leave a like, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts, your predictions for the program for Stanford in 2025. Let me know what I may have missed. Understand, again, that I don't know your team better than you know your team, at least in most cases, especially if you're watching a preview video in June. So let me know what I may have missed and who I may have missed or overlooked in this roster preview. And we'll be certain to make sure we adjust accordingly as we lead towards August when we start previewing the actual playing season. So with that said, thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate you guys so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Arizona Wildcats up next.